I have. It's going. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. Let me share my screen and screen share. I don't want to edit meeting. Okay, so let's begin with the Glachar and prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Namachaya Naruttanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Kirti Shenvatam Swakata Krishna Punyasravana Kirtana Hridayantastu Yapitrani Viduno Dishrusitam Nashtaprayasho Bhadreshu Nistyam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhagavati Vaishnaviki. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. Today we'll have a very short class. So I'll not do a lot of revision and let immediately go to the discussion. So we are in Canto 3, Chapter 5, and we are discussing the section where actually in the beginning of this chapter, Vidura, he is interested to meet Maitreya Rishi because it was requested by whom? Do you remember? Uddhava. Uddhava requested Maitreya Rishi to. No, Uddhava requested Vidura to meet Maitreya Rishi. Why? Because he had he was assigned by a task by Lord Krishna himself to go to Badrikashram and then meet devotees over there and share his transcendental knowledge. So he says that it's better because to hear from Maitreya Rishi. Maitreya Rishi himself was there. So why don't you go and ask him? So when he meets Maitreya Rishi, he asks him several questions. And then after asking many questions, he said that I am only interested in Krishna Katha. So please describe Krishna Katha. Everything, what you're going to describe, you bring the angle of Krishna. Without that, there is no meaning of hearing any Katha actually. So he said that I am like satiated by hearing from my father Vyasdev all the pastimes which happens in Mahabharata. So I'm not interested in those political angles. I am interested in hearing direct Krishna Katha. So because he asked so many questions, Maitreya Rishi was kind of not sure where to start. So he requests Maitreya Rishi to start with the creation, the pastimes of creation. Maitreya Rishi begins with the pastimes of creation, and then he says how Mahavishnu actually glances on Pradhan, and after the glance, you know, with his glance, the living entities, the jivas, along with their karma and sabhava, and the time factor, which energizes everything, the pradhan. This is how the creation begins by injecting all the living entities into the pradhan. And then, in the later stage, what happens that he also creates the elements, and the elements for each of these elements, there is a in charge of or controller of those elements. They are controlling devatas. So these devatas, uh, and they are actually part of Vishnu. He's a kala of Vishnu, but they are not Vishnu Tattva. Actually. They are jivas, but they are directly coming from Vishnu. And these are elemental demigods, and they have a function. What is their function? Their function is to help the Supreme Lord in the process of creation. But unless they understand how to do it, they will not be able to perform the function. So therefore, they offer their prayers. So basically, this 39 to 51 is the prayers of the elemental demigod. Right? They offer beautiful prayers. So this is the whole section where the devatas offer their prayers to the Supreme Lord. Okay, so we'll directly go to that section where the prayers are described. Yeah. So we saw that there are various prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam, and this particular prayer is somewhere between this and this. Right? because this is third chapter, third canto to fifth chapter, which is not mentioned. So last prayers which we did was prayers by Sukadeva Goswami, and now the next prayer mentioned over here is prayers by Kardama Muni. But this is the prayers of the elemental demigods, which is between these two sections. Okay, so this 39th verse onwards, the actually prayers begin. So even within these prayers, there are sections. So the first couple of verses, like 39 to 43, these demigods offer prayers to the Supreme Lord, that how glorious it is to take shelter of your lotus feet. Right? So by giving a beautiful example, glorifying the act of taking shelter of lotus feet of Krishna, your lotus feet actually acts like an umbrella that shields the miseries. So all of us goes through these miseries in life, and there is some reasons. Of course, it's a past karma. So how to protect ourselves from the miseries of life or shielding? So the demigods, they say that when you surrender into the Supreme Lord or take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, it acts like an umbrella. Right? It shields all the miseries. Hare Krishna. But the root cause of the miseries is avidya. Right? Avidya is the root cause of miseries. So how to overcome avidya? By taking some vidya. Right? By taking some transcendental, you can overcome avidya. Then you can overcome the miseries, because root cause is avidya. But the demigods say no. Until one takes shelter of the Supreme Lord, they will not be able to overcome the miseries, even though you have vidya. So that is the next verse. So this is talking about the 5 aspects of suffering. If my suffering is due to avidya, won't I overcome with knowledge? The answer is no. The shades of your lotus feet, which is the strength of devotion, is the only way to overcome all the miseries. There is no other way. So that is the second verse. So by knowledge, it is helpful. However, it will not help us to overcome the miseries. One has to take the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible. So that was the second verse, which we already discussed. Now, coming to the shelters, how to take shelter? So then in this particular verse, 2 ways are given. One is the path of the Vedas, other is the path of taking the shelter of Mother Ganges. So these are the 2 paths which is discussed, or 2 ladders which is discussed in the third verse. So one is the path of Vedas. So Vedas over here the word which is used is um, wings of the Vedas. So with wings, what you can do, you can fly. So with the Vedic knowledge, you can fly, but fly where? So Vedic knowledge leads that. So the wings of the birds actually helps the bird to go to the tree, right? To take shelter of the tree. Now, on the top of the tree is the nest of the bird. So that is compared to the lotus feet, a lotus face of the Lord. Right? And the trunk of the tree is compared to the lotus feet of the Lord. So with the help of Vedas, if somebody follows those birds, right, what will happen? Bird will go to the nest. So somebody who is looking for shelter, like in the earlier days, people used to, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains in this purport, that in earlier days, people used to take shelter under the tree in the night time. So they will look for a tree which is very safe. Now, how do you know the tree is safe? Because the birds are taking shelter. Birds won't take shelter if the tree is not safe. So they will follow the path of the birds, and then they will go to when they follow the path of the birds, they will ultimately reach the root of the tree, and then they can take shelter over there. So this is what is explained. So that is one path, by taking the shelter of the Vedas. Then the second path is taking the shelter of Mother Ganga, because Mother Ganga is coming from the lotus feet of the Lord. So if you take shelter of Mother Ganga, then you get purified. And once you get purified, you can take shelter of the Lord very easily. So these are the 2 paths defined in. You can vanquish the sinful reaction, and then you can get rid of the miseries. So the next verse is saying that these are, of course, 2 paths, but then there is an easier path. These are not the easiest path. These are tough. So the easiest, the earlier two ladders are difficult. Easier ladder is to hear with faith from the Guru. An example is given of Srila Prabhupada actually here heard from his Guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So let's read this verse. If we didn't read this verse, we'll start discussing here. यच्छ्रुत्या श्रुत्वच्च भक्त्या सम्राज्यमानहृदेव अवद्या ज्ञानेन वैराग्यबलेन धीरा व्रजेम तत्ते Simply by hearing about your lotus feet with eagerness and devotion, and by meditating upon them within the heart, one at once becomes enlightened with knowledge, and on the strength of detachment, one becomes pacified. We must therefore take shelter of the sanctuary of your lotus feet. Right? Now, there is a similar verse in Bhagavatam. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. Janediyasu Varagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam. So, this particular verse is talking about the knowledge which is revealed in the heart when we actually hear from the spiritual master. So this is the easier path compared to the two paths which were given earlier, right? So this is what is explained in this verse. So what is the solution? Prabhupada in this purport is talking about the solution for the disturbed mind. In the material world, everyone has a disturbed mind unless one takes shelter of the Supreme Lord. Because the material conditions are so difficult that it puts one through such difficulties that our mind can never be stable. Even Srila Rupa Goswami says that one cannot chant his round if their mind is disturbed. And we have practical examples, right, on ourselves. We cannot peacefully chant when our mind is disturbed. Right? So what is the solution? So Prabhupada says that the two essentials, these two essentials for self-realization, knowledge and detachment become manifest very quickly if one performs devotional service to the lotus feet of the Lord. The word dhira is very significant in this connection. A person who is not disturbed, even in the presence of disturbance, is called as dhira. So material situations won't actually stop difficulties in our life. Right? What will stop difficulty is we rise above the problems. Our consciousness becomes such that we rise above that platform of entanglement in the material miseries. Miseries will be there. In whatever way we try, doesn't matter. It will come. Because that's the nature of this world. Right? Dukkhalayam asasvatam. Right? So here the example of Sri Yamunacharya is very significant. Right? Sri Ramanacharya says, since my heart has been overwhelmed with devotional service of Lord Krishna, I cannot even think of sex life. And if the thought of sex comes upon me, I at once feel disgust and spit upon it. So that's what his statement is. So the thoughts are coming, but spiritually realized person can rise above those thoughts. He doesn't entertain those thoughts. So it's not that the thoughts will stop coming. So by practice of spiritual life, one can become dhira. Now, this also becomes easy as we see, that when we take shelter of the Guru, when we take directions from Guru, it becomes easy. So, Prabhupada, in the next paragraph, he talks about importance of taking shelter of bona fide souls. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu strongly recommends this process of hearing from a bona fide pure devotee. And by following this process, one can achieve the highest result that is conquering all other methods. Right? So, Srila Jiva Goswami in Krama Sandarbha, he very systematically describes this step by step. So, he says that we realize those feet by the faith in the process of hearing. See, very technical words he's using. We realize those feet by faith. So, we have to have faith. It's a very important thing to have faith in the words of spiritual master. It doesn't happen overnight, or it's a cultivation method. It gradually happens. So when we have this faith in the process of hearing, it happens in steps, and these steps are given. We should take shelter of your lotus feet. Right? This is our ultimate goal. But then why? Right? Because by realizing those lotus feet through the process of bhakti leads to jnana and vairagya, which is given in these sources. And even 1 to 7 also, it's given the same thing. That by realizing, you will, through the process of bhakti, that will lead to jnana and vairagya. And then one becomes dhira. But what is the prerequisite of entering into this process? The prerequisite is heart must be purified. That is a prerequisite. Then the question is how to purify the heart. It can be purified by Nishkama Karma Yoga or Vairagya, etc. But here is said that only the heart is purified by the process of bhakti. Other processes won't work. Only the heart is purified by the process of bhakti, then this will work. Because there are other processes. And it is the efforts in the other processes is on the person itself, whoever is engaging in. Whereas here, the effort is, some kind of effort is there, but it is more of mercy. This is a gift which is received by the devotee from the Supreme Lord. So what is this bhakti? Bhakti is that is characterized by the hearing with faith from the mouth of a pure devotee, which is Guru. What happens when you hear with faith from the mouth of a Guru? One gets knowledge, heart becomes purified, and one realizes the sweetness of the lotus feet of Krishna. So, very important point. I mean, now you can connect with this prana and chitta we discussed, right? Because the source has to be very pure. The source of hearing has to be pure. Right? That's why, Prabhupada says in many places, he writes also that Bhagavad Katha should not be heard from that source which has material desires. Because it is like a milk touched by the lips of the serpent. But it's the same Bhagavad Katha, isn't it? So here, Srila Jiva Goswami is focusing on the purity of the source. Very important. The seed has to be very potent. So we are.
Can I ask a question, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So the first line there, realizing those feet through bhakti leads to jnana and vairagya.
Yeah, this is the assumption which is given on the basis of the verse. See, this is a discussion which is Srila Jiva Goswami giving. So
bhakti comes first and then jnana and vairagya comes after.
Yeah, along with, so it's a concomitant, like when you burn some wood, so ash is the byproduct. You are not burning the wood to get ash, but ash is the byproduct. So similarly, jnana and vairagya is the byproduct.
Simultaneously.
Yeah, it's simultaneously happen. So our focus is on bhakti, but jnana and vairagya will automatically happen. Correct. So, yes.
So there it says prerequisite to take shelter of the lotus feet is heart must be purified.
Yeah.
But then how do you purify?
The heart.
Actually,
yeah, the process of hearing.
Yeah, it's basically then you need to take the shelter.
Faith in.
Yeah. So it's basically, it seems contradictory, right?
Right, but it is not, because it's like a catch-22 thing, right?
Yeah.
You do this, like if you don't exercise, you will become fat. But if you are fat, you cannot exercise. But you still have to start somewhere. And that is beginning with little.
So maybe
faith.
it is not taking shelter but having faith, and then that leads to shelter, is it?
So you have to have faith in the words of
the pure devotee.
Pure devotee, right? When you have, so here it's saying that first your heart must be purified, but the heart is initially not purified.
Yeah.
Right? So when the heart is purified, then you realize the lotus feet of the Lord through the process of bhakti. And these are jnana and vairagya is the concomitant factors.
Yeah.
Right? And one becomes dhira. But in order to realize this, one heart must be pure, who can engage in a pure bhakti. Like in our case, right? we are going through the process of sadhana, and where there is a process of anartha nivritti. The anartha nivritti is happening while we are engaging in sadhana. But because we have faith that this is going to happen, right, then it's going to, that faith is needed. But if somebody gives up the faith and this mechanically do, it won't work.
You have to keep it.
You have to keep at it, and the faith has to keep on increasing. So, Srila, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also said that, the gradual rising from the state of Adav Shraddha to Prema, right? Shraddha to Prema is nothing but a gradual elevation of faith.
Yeah. How you deep the faith goes.
Deepens the faith. So there is little faith. As we engage, our faith keeps in the process, keeps on. Why the faith increasing? Why the faith increase? On what is our faith dependent on?
Mercy.
Mercy, that is one thing. Other is our realization.
Really.
Yeah. Rearing more, but at the same time, you're experiencing some changes in your life. That gives more faith. So bhakti, that is characterized by the hearing with faith from the mouth of a pure devotee. By this, what happens? Once get knowledge, and also the heart becomes purified. Right? One realizes the sweetness of the lotus feet of the Lord. So these are the three things that happens. Now, the realizing over here, it means actually darshanam. I mean, in real sense, it is the darshanam. Like pure devotees, so there is a pure devotee who is speaking, right? Like Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee who is speaking. But there are many audiences when he was speaking, there are many devotees who are sitting in the audience, right? But each one based on their purity, would receive the same instruction in a different. So one time, Mukundatta Prabhu was explaining in his class, this is a long time back. I really didn't understand that. But when I reflect upon it now, I try to get some message. So Mukundatta Prabhu was saying that many devotees, they come to Mangalarti, right? But each one's experience is different. It's the same Mangalarti, but each one based on their consciousness, their level of understanding, their involvement in the process of Mangalarti itself is different. Right? His point was that one has to start, like when we are singing the Samsara Dava prayers, right? So mechanically speaking the prayers, but actually then meditating upon the meanings of the prayers while the prayer is going on. Simultaneously meditating upon the meaning. That is very important. Right? So, but that happens upon, as we grow in our Krishna consciousness, that happens gradually. So what happens by realizing this sweetness? When you have the taste of Krishna Katha, all other Katha becomes dry. I mean, we all experience that in office work and all those discussion about investing here, investing there, and football match or this match, whatever going on this. It's a dry, right? Isn't it? We don't have that taste. Gradually goes away. So that is the Vairagya. Vairagya also gives strong disgust to this matter. This Vairagya actually automatically happens when we taste the nectar of Krishna's pastimes. I specifically remember this when I heard Radha Gopinath Prabhu's Science of Self-Realization, right? And mostly I was hearing while driving. And while driving, I was just hearing, and it's almost like reaching home. When did I reach home? I don't even realize. But at that time, or sometimes going to office, this would happen. That I reached office, and I said, why I don't want to stop this. I don't want to go to work right now. I just want to keep hearing.
Wish there was more traffic.
Huh? Wish there was more. Yeah, exactly. Similarly, all of you have hearing some kirtan, or we experience this. So this vairagya, when you realize that sweetness, The vairagya in this material world automatically happens. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also in his Sararthi Darshan Tika, he says that among all the people, those who take shelter of the Lord with pure bhakti are the best. Right? If there is a honey in the arka tree, so he is giving an example. Right? This is one kind of nyaya where if you find something which is very near, why would you go, so much trouble? Yeah. He's saying if there is honey in the arka tree, which is why go to the mountains, right? So this is the Sanskrit thing. Arkachet madhu vindate kim artham pravartam rajet iti nyaya. So this is the kind of if something rare could be obtained easily nearby, there would be no need for difficult efforts. Yeah. So what Srila Vishwanath Thakur is saying over here, that there is no necessity of putting intense labor in studying the Vedas, because just by bhakti you get everything. So the next verse is discussing that this process is very easy as you give remembrance and courage. Let's read. Vishwesya janmasthi samarte kritavdharasya pradam bhujam te vrajema sarvam vidyasya sritam pragyachiti sayam swapumsam. Oh Lord, you assume incarnations for the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. And therefore, we all take shelter of your lotus feet because they always award remembrance and courage to your devotees. Right. So again, this section is talking about what? Taking the glorious shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord's lotus feet. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada talks about different kinds of avatars, especially he's talking about the guna avatars. So there are 6 categories of avatars, right? One is Purusha avatars, Lila avatars, Guna avatars, Shakti Avesha avatars, Yoga avatars, Manvantar avatars. So there are 6 different categories of avatars. So here is talking about the Guna avatars, where Lord himself takes the avatars of the 3 modes of nature, Sattva Gun, Rajogun and Tamogun, right? So here there is very interesting thing which we'll discuss in few minutes. So Prabhupada saying is, for the purpose of creation, maintenance and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation, there are 3 incarnations, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwar, Lord Shiva. They are controllers or masters of the 3 modes of nature, material nature, which causes the phenomenal manifestations. So Vedas is the only place where these 3 modes are actually discussed. In no other religion you will find this discussion of 3 modes. Everything categorized into 3 modes is the subject matter which is only found in Vedas. Because this makes it very easy. Sometimes you apparently see something and we get confused why people react to that differently. But that is because the modes are acting in different ways. Vishnu is the master of the mode of goodness, Brahma is the master of the mode of passion, and Maheshwar is the master of the mode of ignorance. Now, they are master of the modes. They are not ignorant or not in passion. Of course, Lord Brahma also prays in the 2nd canto that because I will be engaging in the purpose of creation, this is the prayers in Chatushlok. Please protect me so that I don't get bound by the 3 modes. There are different kinds of devotees according to the modes of nature. Person in the mode of, okay, so this is what I wanted to discuss. Person in the mode of Vishnu, goodness, worship Vishnu. Those in the mode of passion, worship Lord Brahma. And those in the mode of ignorance, worship Lord Shiva. However, when we read in Bhagavad Gita, right, chapter 17, divisions of faith, it is said there that those in the mode of goodness worship demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship bhutas and pretas. Right? So like that, there is a difference. So why is that difference? So here Prabhupada is saying, those in the mode of goodness worship Vishnu. Here in the 17th chapter, Krishna himself says, those in the mode of goodness worship demigods. So why is that difference? So that is because there are different kinds of worship that is mentioned in the Matsya Purana. So in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, if we really see the verse which is the whole chapter actually 16 and 17 is based on this point of Shraddha, right? Faith in what? Shraddha in Shastra, right? Shraddha in Shastra. So in the 16th chapter, in 23rd verse, Krishna says that ye Shastra vidhi utsrijya, right? Vartate kama karatah. Means they do not follow the or they have no faith in these scriptures, and they don't do, they have no interest, they have no faith, and therefore they behave as they want without following any literature, right? So what is their gati? So Krishna is saying in 1623, they attain neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination, right? So now in the 17th chapter, Krishna says that ye shastra vidim utsrijya, however, yajante shraddhaya nvrita. So they have faith. These people, they don't have faith at all. These people have faith, but they are not having faith on the basis of scriptures. These people have some kind of faith. These guys are totally faithless. I mean this one. These are totally faithless. These have faith, but their faith is not based on scriptures. So here it is that faith is not based on scripture, but on the impressions of the past vasana. According to the vasanas, they have some kind of faith. So what kind of faith is that? That is the question in 17.1. Right? 17.1, and I'll open the verse so it will be very clear what Srila Prabhupada is mentioning. BG 17.1. Arjuna Vatya, ye Shatsa vidim utsrijya, again the same term is used. And over here it is Vartate Kam. Oh, sorry, I'm not showing the screen. Ye Shastra vidim utsrijya. Here it is Vartate Kama Karata. This is 16th chapter. This 17th chapter beginning it is Yajante Shraddhayan Vritan Vitaha. So this is 17th chapter. Yajante Shraddhaya Vita. So Arjuna's question over here is, you have to be clear about, because this whole chapter, divisions of faith, is actually very important because the whole philosophy is based on faith. So understanding this philosophy is and it's very minute difference here and there. And that makes a big, like Burijan Prabhu says that, there is a distance you are traveling. Let's say you're going from point A to point B. And these are the distance between point A and point B is hundreds of miles. Right? But a minute 0.0, this is a starting point, a minute 0.01 degree difference when you use the starting point it is a tangential difference, right? So same thing is in our spiritual life. We have to be very clear that what is our ultimate goal. Otherwise, some degree here and there will take us to a different path. And the results are different. So here Arjuna is asking this question, oh Krishna, what is the situation of those who do not follow the principles of scriptures, but worship according to their own imagination? So they worship, but not following scriptures. They are worshipping according to their own imagination. Are they in goodness? Are they in passion or ignorance? To answer that, Krishna is saying this, that there is a satviki bhakti. There's a person who is in who is actually, I can change the screen. So now the question is clear.
Mhm.
So to this, Krishna is answering this. So the person is in, these are in different modes. So one who is predominantly in the mode of goodness, Satviki, he worships demigods, but he is not following scriptures. Right? So the whole idea is this side, they are not following scriptures. This side, they are following scriptures. So faith based on scriptures, faith not based on scriptures. So if it is not based on scriptures, but on our own imagination, among that there are three kind of people. One is in mode of goodness, one is in mode of passion, one is in mode of ignorance. So the person who is in mode of goodness will worship demigods. Person is mode of passion will worship yakshas and rakshasas, and then tamasic person will worship pretas and bhutaganas. On the other side, there is Shastriya Shraddha. When you approach Shastra and say, whom should I worship? Then Shastra will say, you can only worship Vishnu, nobody else. Vishnu is the only person is worship. So then they worship Vishnu. But if they are passionate, and then they can worship the demigods. Now this is actually altogether another level. So I am not discussing this at all.
So in this, the left side, you see everything, all the arrows coming down to Vedic scriptures. Why is that given there?
Yeah, because this is also there in Veda. Veda also covers those things. Though they are not following, there are some portions of, so that they worship them. Let's say they wanted to worship demigods, but on the basis of some literature, right? So the Vedas actually encompasses everything. So this will be the portion where the karma kanda will come, but part of the karma kanda. Not really exactly karma kanda, but part of portions of karma kanda. Will they say, I want to worship Ganesha? So then those, actually it is coming from Vedas only, but some it will come through some Brahmana or somebody whom they have faith.
Pret Bhut also there's Vedic
Yes.
scriptures on how to worship.
Yeah, everything. Tantric.
Mm.
See, within Vedas, there are two types of literatures. One is the Vedas itself, other is the Tantras. So there is Satvata Tantra, there is Rajasic Tantra, there is Tamasic Tantra. So Tamasic Tantras, actually there are 5 kind of makaras there. The worship of, if you go to some temples in India, they actually offer liquor to the deities. And liquor is the prasadam.
Sir, I think in Delhi or somewhere.
Somewhere is there, yeah.
YouTube, it's there.
You can see.
They offer liquor and you get liquor back as per
Prasad.
Where,
India.
one of the temple?
Yeah.
India has offering for
Yeah, India.
The church also, they'll give wine, same.
Yeah, same kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, church anyway they give.
Right. So, but this portion is not covered what Prabhupada is covering here. Okay. Prabhupada is saying here that person in the mode of goodness worship Vishnu. Right. So here, based on faith based on scriptures, faith which is not based on scriptures. Somebody who is worshipping without faith on scriptures, they worship demigods, they worship the demons, they worship the ghost and spirits. Now, again, we have to remember all knowledge comes from Veda, and all knowledge is eternal. So this knowledge is also eternal.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is Vedic scriptures. Now,
Vedas cannot be complete unless there is avidya also.
Avidya, yes. Avidya is also there in the Vedas. So this is based on the scriptures where somebody is predominantly in the mode of goodness. But within goodness, there is again goodness. There is goodness from somebody, goodness plus passion, goodness plus ignorance. So goodness plus goodness, Vishnu, goodness plus passion, Lord Brahma, and then goodness plus ignorance is Lord Shiva. Right? Now, then, like the example which is given is animals predominantly in the mode of ignorance. So this is from Bhagavatam, the example is given. 10th canto, 84th chapter, 13th verse. Animals are predominantly in the mode of ignorance. But within animals, there are some animals in the mode of goodness, which is cows. So ignorant goodness, ignorant passion, ignorant, jackal, monkeys, and all this. So similarly, here somebody is based on scriptures. Goodness is Lord Vishnu, right? And now again within this there is again bifurcation, which is I don't want to touch this one because again we go into bhakti. So this is in the 26th chapter, which is going to come in details. I'm not going to cover right now. This is in the 329.10, 329.9, 329.8. So this is the category of bhakti. People perform here bhakti to destroy somebody. Can you imagine? That kind of bhakti is also there. You perform bhakti to destroy other persons.
The pujas to
No, this is bhakti to Vishnu.
That is tantri. That is
Ah,
tantric. No, more of the tamasic.
yeah, tamasic bhakti. But what Prabhupada is trying to give us is this one, or Lord Chaitanya is giving us this three gunatit bhakti, bhakti beyond the three modes, or it is Kevala bhakti, Uttama bhakti, Suddha bhakti. It has got different names. Right? So therefore, now based on this Shraddha, we have to, this is a water which is, you take shower sometimes, this comes, some kind of noise. House is getting old, like us, cracking this. Our knees are, all these things are cracking, right? Same. So, based on this Shraddha, then there are literatures. Right? So, our Shraddha is based on our literature, and therefore the books, what we should study is Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, books by our acharyas. Right? To get like Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, all those acharyas in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Because that's what will give us faith in this three gunatit bhakti. We can take reference from other places which can help us, like Nectar of Instruction, the first two verses are not directly written by Srila Rupa Goswami. He took it from other literatures. But that is applicable in our process of bhakti. Now, this is very in detail discussed in the book Jaiva Dharma. Jaiva Dharma is really one of the best book we should all read. Like 35 chapters are there. But the entire philosophy is there in that book, Jaiva Dharma. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book. It starts from the soul, it goes up to the topmost experience of bhakti, which you can get. So it's a must-read book. So there, all these things are discussed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in detail, so that we can understand how we can practice bhakti in our life. Right?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, so sorry to interrupt. Can you just repeat the book name again? This is
Jaiva Dharma.
Himangi. Jaiva Dharma. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I am not able to hear the voice very. Okay, the volume is very. I will share the book in the group, right?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
Sure. Hare Krishna. So meditation on the lotus. So here it is said that devotees are meditating on the lotus feet of Krishna. So these are some symbols that are there, and each of these symbols. Today I shared some notes, and that's each of the symbols has certain meaning. So when the devotees are meditating upon, let's say, on Krishna, the moon, half moon of Krishna's lotus feet, that has certain meanings. Now, I don't know the details, but I just shared the document, so you can read. And how a barley grain or something like, or a conch, meditating upon different, or a chakra, if we meditate upon different objects that are there on the lotus feet of Krishna, then we can attain particular whatever is given. That if you are meditating on this, if you want to protect yourself, meditate upon the chakra, the lotus feet of the Lord, something like that, right? So here some examples are there. There are 19 marks, or symbols in Krishna's feet.
If we come here, we are looking at the prayers of the
Lotus feet.
Yes.
The lotus feet.
lotus feet
Ah.
symbols.
So when they are praying, they are meditating upon
The lotus
the lotus feet. Because the lotus feet is acting as a chhatri, right? As a chata. So devotees are looking at the symbols of the Supreme Lord. Lotus feet as the
It's all explained in Bhagavatam.
yeah. This one's.
I took it from somewhere.
So this is from Jayavadharma I took it, but it is there from internet I have took it actually. It's some
Yeah,
article.
back to Godhead.
Back to Godhead.
Yeah.
Vamsi Vihar. Yarvas.
I shared this. Mahanidhi Swami has given, I forgot the book name, but he has given a book in which he has given all details. I think somebody must have taken, but this is there coming from Shastra. So meditation upon the lotus feet. Okay, so next verse. Okay, so next verse is the next section. So the first section is verse 39 to 43. It is talking about the glorious shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. So Lord's lotus feet acts as an umbrella which protects the miseries, or it protects the devotee from the miseries that are occurring, or happening in their life. Right? And then 40th verse is a full of knowledge. It's talking about lotus feet is a full of, it gives it has capacity to give jnana and vairagya. Third is the source of um, a source of Ganga, and because it's a source of the Lord lotus feet is a source of Ganga, it can vanquish all the sinful reaction of the devotees. And then the lotus feet reveals knowledge and detachment. And the last one which we read was it averts remembrance and courage. So the next section is who is qualified to get the shelter of the lotus feet. So there is 44 to 47 talks about qualified and unqualified candidates for taking the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Right? So first is talking about the unqualified people in first two verses. And then it's talking about the qualified person. Who is qualified? So it's very systematic actually. When we go into the prayers, we learn a lot how to actually really pray. I'm going to share two lectures by Radhika Raman Prabhu. He explains in details how to actually pray to Krishna, because we go and most of the time we have a list of things. Okay, this is what I want. But of course, he says he appreciates that and he goes into details. It's really nice actually. There are 2-3 classes he has, but it gives us an idea how to really pray.
You've shared before also, I think.
Did I share? Okay. Yeah, while ago. But this is very nice actually for us to learn. But I'll share.
Prabhuji, if you could, yeah, please do share it. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for joining, Mataji. She's from, she used to be here, Mataji, Hamangi Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
I'm joining from all the way from Vancouver. Haribol.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Chicago one?
No. That is another path. So, yeah. 44 to 47 is talking about qualified and unqualified candidates. So first, the demigods are saying this process is very easy. However, who cannot approach you? Let's read together. Yat sannubandhe sati dekhe ma ya ivita duragram pumsam surdam vasato api puryam bhaje matate bhagavan padajam. O Lord, a person who are entangled by undesirable eagerness for temporary body and kinsmen, and who are bound by the thought of mine and I, or me and mine. This is there in Bhagavad Gita. This is again repeating in the second canto, right in the beginning, and again repeating in the third canto. Are unable to see your lotus feet. Although your lotus feet are situated within their own bodies. Where is it situated? In the heart, as Paramatma. But let us take shelter of your lotus feet. So conception of me and mine, right? There, Prabhupada has discussed this particular point many times. Aham mameti, right? So initially it is centered around us, and then it extends our family, our this, and then this tendency also comes in the devotee community. My God brother, my this, my that, right? And it is very natural actually. It is not unnatural, but we have to overcome. Right? You have to overcome by knowledge. Right? So this is what Prabhupada is saying. How to get out of the clutches. So Prabhupada says, but even a perpetually condemned to perpetually condemned to the misery of the material existence can get relief from the bondage if he simply agrees to hear Krishna Katha. Simply agrees to hear Krishna Katha. Hearing is actually very tough task. Seriously, I mean, if it's a blessing.
It's really
Huh?
tough, I know.
Huh?
Yeah, me too.
It's really tough to hear.
It is very tough to hear.
Reading is more tough.
Agreed.
Because another thing is the result of serving devotees in this or previous life will give you taste for hearing. This is given in the first canto, second chapter. When you sincerely serve devotees, then you get taste of hearing. Right? And this is Vidura is saying in the third or fourth chapter of this canto. Who doesn't get the taste of hearing? Somebody who has done aparadh will not get taste of hearing. So it is that means when we don't have that taste of hearing, we need to introspect and say what aparadh, or at least beg for forgiveness, because we must have done aparadh maybe in this life, most probably in this life, but in the past life also, right? Because of that, we are unable to hear Krishna Katha. We don't have taste. In the age of Kali, the process of hearing Krishna Katha is the most effective means to gain release from unwanted family affection and thus find permanent freedom in life. People should be, that Prabhupada said, in the age of Kali, let's read the whole thing. In the age of Kali, which is in the age of Kali, is full of sinful reaction, and people are more and more addicted to the qualities in this age. But simply by hearing the chanting of Krishna Katha, one is sure to go back to Godhead. Therefore, people should be trained to hear only Krishna Katha by all means in order to get relief from the miseries. By all means, by force. So initially, it is like a poison. The hearing is like a poison initially, but it becomes nectar as we purify. So even if you don't like to hear, we have to set aside, like start with 10 minutes, 10-15 minutes. Especially Prabhupada classes are like cutting, because even 30 minutes class, Prabhupada smashes everything in 30 minutes. So if we are having interest, we are actually very fortunate in that. We have interest in hearing Katha. So we should pray for others if somebody doesn't have it. Right? So Srila Vishwanath Yogi Thakur says, Bhakti is hard to attain for unfortunately jivas. Right? The Lord lives in manifest and unmanifest form in his cities, Puryam of Mathura and Dwarka. Or the Lord lives in the city of the body. So Lord basically is living in the city of the body as well as he's sitting in different forms as a Paramatma is sitting in the heart. But Vishwanath Chakravarti is saying that bhakti is hard to attain for unfortunate jivas. Sometimes the English is very difficult to read. Why? Unfortunate jivas are jivas who have
come into association.
Association. Yes. So those example can be given. The situation of this devotees in the material world who have not come in contact with the process of bhakti, it may apparently look similar to a situation of a devotee who is in bhakti. So, because these people are, apparently outside it looks similar. They look in they live in a similar kind of home. We live in as a bhakta, and non-bhakta.
It's
Externally,
difficult to
yeah,
identify who is a
difficult, yeah.
devotee versus-
And externally, result is also difficult to identify because they are in the same level, right? Sometimes they may be in the better level. The point I'm trying to say is the one who has a devotee who has got a blessing of this process of bhakti and somebody who doesn't have, there is a big difference.
Though superficially you can't see that.
Yeah, so you can think like, Balram Shakti Prabhu gives a very beautiful example here. He says that you go to a station and you see somebody is on the platform and somebody is sitting in the train, right? So for an outside purpose, if you look at through a GPS map where both of them are, so they both are located where? In the train, in the railway station. Okay? So it looks there is no difference, but there is a big difference because one has already taken a train and he knows where he is going. So same is the process of bhakti. Person who has achieved or got the blessing and have started the practicing bhakti, he knows where he is going. Though the apparently outside world people may say that they are also working or the situation is same, but no, the destination of both are different.
Purpose is there.
Purpose is there, yeah. So therefore, you see that these people are unfortunate because they have not got the blessings of a devotee. So now the question is, why do they not take to pure bhakti, which is attained by devotees association? So that is answered in the next verse, but there are two parts to this verse, 45a and 45b. So let's read this.
Prabhuji, I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yes, Mati.
Prabhuji, just wanted to confirm that you just mentioned that person who has done offense, right? So, like they do not get the taste for the hearing Krishna Katha. So, coming to the point, I think if I'm not wrong, there are two types of offensive. And what I have thinking, like sometimes you do offense directly to a devotee, and sometimes you do it from your manasa, that is from the mind, right? So in the case when you do realize that yes, I have done a offense to a devotee in person, definitely we should go down, we should ask for the forgiveness. But what about, because in Kali Yuga, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that whatever you do a sin, or you can see a sin from the mind, it is forgiven. But when it comes to the offensive, when it comes to the Vaishnava part, what are we supposed to do? Should we just take forgiveness from our mind only? Or should we definitely go in person and ask? Like, I'm just asking real quickly because I want to enhance my chanting. It similarly happens on the pure. So just want to confirm.
Yeah. Something which is there in the mind and our mind is automatically going. So Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, Krishna said, Dhyayate Vishaya Pumsa, right? Sangaste Sopajayate. So right now it is there in the mind, but definitely it is going to come out some or other way. Maybe not in form of word, but in in some other form, like, our behavior is not proper with them, right? So I'll just show one verse. What you are seeing here? Okay, here. Right. So I think it'll be difficult for me to find right now. But immediately after the
No
class,
worries.
I'm going to send what is the definition of aparad, Vaishnava aparad. So Hanti, Nindanti, like that, there are 6 categories. Meaning, when we are doing aparad, it's not only just, even by not becoming happy by seeing a devotee. That is also aparadha.
Definitely.
Right? So if something like that is there in the mind, it is going to reflect in our behavior. When we see
But
that
then,
person, yeah.
but you understand. So sorry, Prabhu. But like when you understand that the person has not that kind of a standard, like obviously you are reading that the person does not have that kind of a standard of Vaishnava quality or something. However, they are still chanting. They are also on the purificatory process. So how to understand? Sometimes you just want to have a word with your spouse, but then when you're having a word with your spouse, I think you have to be so careful that it does not come as a blaspheming of a devotee, because at the end of the day that is also a blaspheming, even if it is a one person. So I just wanted to make sure, just to make sure that on the path of this bhakti we are trying to be on the stable path and increasing our faith, like one thing, everything you're down to degradation there.
Yeah. No, I mean, in this world, we cannot close our eyes. We will see faults. Right?
Yeah.
However, the process of bhakti is seeing, I mean, it's easier said than done, but seeing faults within ourselves. We'll definitely able to see faults with the others. And, it's a bigger discussion than, in short, I can say that somehow or other we have to see that the quality which that devotee is manifesting, right, is temporary. Right? The soul, if we can convince our mind like that through Shastra, that the qualities which that devotee is manifesting right now is temporary, which is asat. In temporary things will come and go, but that soul is actually pure and part and parcel of Krishna. And then Krishna, in the fifth canto, there is one verse which says that all good qualities of the demigods are there in the devotees, but a non-devotee doesn't have a single good quality. But when we see, our practical realization is not like that. We see so many faults within the devotees. In that, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that, of course, right now the devotee is going through the cleansing process. But once he is cleansed, he has taken the start. He has begin his journey. Right? The person has already started his journey. So the cleansing, as he engages in the devotional service, it will happen. Right? So wherever we can help the devotee, we will help.
Totally.
But if
Thank you
our
so much,
mind is there,
Prabhu.
huh?
Thank you. You just bang on the point that this is asat. So that just gave me the point I was like looking forward to. Thank you.
Yeah, this is temporary, asat. So we have to just ignore that and move forward. And wherever we can help, we should help. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Sure. Thank you. So I think we'll stop here because we have a program at temple. So we'll stop tonight and then we'll continue next week from this verse 45. Rantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. Thank you.
Very good.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Thank you, Mama. Hare Krishna.